Hey, good morning again. Happy Thursday. It was pointed out to me yesterday that I forgot to remind you to make yesterday, Wednesday, a weedless Wednesday. So if you forgot to do that, you could make this a thriving Thursday and go weed free. Never hurts. Anyway, I want to talk about some more brain stuff because that's the thing that's always at the core of whatever's going on with us. If we're happy, it's because we're doing something that is causing us to feel happy. And if we're feeling nervous or anxious, it's something that we're doing to um, not take care of things. So I'm going to start with a video, and then I'm going to read you a story. And bear with me. Obviously, no one has told me how to do this better. So until that happens, you'll just have to suffer along with this. So, are you nervous, anxious, angry, afraid, uncomfortable, any of those things? If you're feeling any of those things, it's a brain thing. So let's take a look at that. Sorry, actually, I made that a little bit bigger.
Psychologists call the lizard brain, which some of you have read about in Lynchpin. The lizard brain, which my friend Steve Pressfield gave a name to, a voice to, the resistance, is in charge of reproduction and anger and survival and fear. It's the brain of every wild animal. The right answer to why did the chicken cross the road is because its lizard brain told it to. The lizard brain is prehistoric. It's been around for millions of years. Genes connected to an organism without a lizard brain don't survive. Wild animals are wild for a reason. They are trying to survive and have more babies. Well, we still have one. We built a lot of other new brain material around it. Brain material that does things like creativity and generosity and connection. But the lizard, when the lizard is activated, is brutal. You're on a plane, 10,000 feet, you're in the middle of a perfect paragraph on your business plan and you hit turbulence. Do you keep typing or put your head between your knees and start screaming? Most people do not keep typing. If we were rational about it, we would realize that willing and yelling and arguing for the plane to remain aloft has no effect on what the pilot is doing, right? A small aside. You know that whole thing about no cell phones in flight? If they're so dangerous, how come bad guys don't get up and go, I got a cell phone, go to Cuba, I'm going to hit the dial button. That's always bothered me. But anyway, so what happens is that part of our brain is activated and it takes over. That part of our brain says, you better not raise your hand and ask a question because people might laugh at you. That part of your brain says, I'm going to read Business Plan for Dummies and do it just like it says in the book, because then no one will be able to tell me I left that part out. That part of your brain says, I better not reach out to this person and offer them something because they might take advantage of me, or they might laugh at me, or I might say the wrong thing. And so the lizard brain loves school. It loves being a cog in the system. The lizard brain is soothed by working on the assembly line because it's not your fault. And if it's not your fault, you can't get blamed. And if you can't get blamed, you won't get in trouble, and you end up homeless and starving to death and dead. And that's the only way it thinks, black or white, in or out, one or the other. And entrepreneurs have gone 90% of the way to overcoming the resistance. Entrepreneurs have overcome so many of the things we've been taught about fitting in, not standing out. And yet in the breach, at the last minute, most entrepreneurs take a half step back and sabotage the work. And we sabotage the work because it's safer to fail small. It's safer to say, if I could just get funded, then I'd succeed, than it is to say, wow, I got funded, I better think big or I'm going to fail big. It's easier to fail small.
So, And it's interesting. That's really true with lots of things. Like I've talked to lots and lots of kids who are afraid to really try at school because they might not do as good as they think they could, and it's easier to not try and say, well, if I would have tried, I would have done better. Same thing with recovery stuff. Lots of people relapse because they think, okay, well, it's easier to be a mess than it is to work on getting better. So interesting stuff. So there's the reptilian, where's my amazing little laser pointer? So here's that little reptilian complex, and here our lizard brain. And of course, here we have a lizard, just to amuse you. I'm going to read you a story. Deep down, do you feel at ease? This is Rick Hansen. The practice, pet the lizard. So we're talking about this little part here. Why? I've always liked lizards. Growing up in the outskirts of Los Angeles, I played in the foothills near our home. Sometimes I'd catch a lizard and stroke its belly so it would relax in my hand, seeming to feel at ease. In my early 20s, I found a lizard one chilly morning in the mountains. It was torpid and still in the cold and let me pick it up. Concerned that it might be freezing to death, I placed it on the shoulder of my turtleneck where it clung and occasionally moved about for the rest of the day. There was a kind of wordless communication between us in which the lizard seemed to feel I wouldn't hurt it, and I felt it wouldn't scratch or bite me. After a few hours, I hardly knew it was there, and sometimes in the afternoon it left without me realizing it. Now, years later, I've learned more about how the brain evolved. My odd affinity for lizards has started to make sense to me. To simplify a complex journey, beginning about 600 million years ago, your brain has developed in three basic stages. Reptile, which is a brainstem, focused on avoiding harm, and we just saw that in the video. Mammal, which is your limbic system, focused on approaching rewards. Primate, which is your cortex, focused on attaching to us. Of course, the brain is highly integrated, so these three key functions, avoiding, approaching, and attaching, are all accomplished by parts of the brain working together. Nonetheless, each function is particularly served by the region of the brain that first evolved to handle it. This fact has significant implications. For example, in terms of avoiding harm, the brainstem and the structures just on top of it are fast and relatively rigid. Neuroplasticity, the capacity of the brain to learn from experience by changing its structure, increases as you move up both the evolutionary ladder and the layered structures of the brain. Consequently, if you want to help yourself feel less concerned, uneasy, nervous, anxious, or traumatized, feelings and reactions that are highly affected by the reptilian brainstem related processes, then you need many repetitions of feeling safe, protected, and at ease to leave lasting traces in the brainstem and the limbic system structures that produce the first emotion, the most primal one of all, fear. Or to put it a little differently, your inner iguana needs a lot of petting. How? To begin with, I found it helps me to appreciate how scared that little lizard is inside each one of us. Lizards and early mammals emerging about 200 million years ago that were not continually uneasy and vigilant would fail the first test of life in the wild. Eat lunch, don't be lunch today. So be aware of the ongoing background trickle of anxiety in your mind, the subtle guarding and bracing with people and events as you move through your day. Pay attention to how you're thinking. If you notice little feelings of anxiety, look at where those are coming from and check your thinking so that you don't have to react to that. Then again and again, try to relax and remind yourself that you're actually all right now. Send soothing and calming down into your most ancient layers of your mind. Also soothe your own body. Most of the signals coming into the brain originate inside the body, not from out there in the world. Therefore, as your body settles down, that sends feedback up into your brain that all is well, or at least not too bad. Take a deep breath and feel each part of it, noticing that you are basically okay, and letting go of the tension and anxiety as you exhale. Repeat as you like. Shift your posture, even right now as you read this, to a more comfortable position. As you do activities such as eating, walking, using the bathroom, or going to bed, keep bringing awareness to the fact that you are safe, that the necessary things of life are getting done just fine, and that you are alive and well. Throughout, keep taking in the good of these many moments of petting your inner lizard. Register the experience in your body of a softening, calming, and opening. Savor it. Stay with it for 10, 20, 30 seconds in a row so that you can transfer it to your implicit memory. Some have likened the mind, and mind is how you think, and brain is the structural part of it, to a kind of committee. Frankly, I think it's more like a jungle. We can't get rid of the critters in there. They're hardwired into the brain, but we can tame and guide them. Then, as the bumper sticker says, they wag more and bark less, or relax like a lizard at ease in the sun. So that's just one thing from Rick Hanson. And so, as you go through the day, whether you're walking or running or jumping, like just pay attention to that activity. That helps us feel safe. That idea of staying in the moment, of paying attention to your breath, like an in-breath thinking, I am taking in peace and happiness, and an out-breath that I'm letting go of tension. That helps tell that inner lizard brain of yours that things are okay. So take care of yourself. Tomorrow's Friday. I will check in with you then. Have a good day. Thank you. So I have to stop this, and I have to stop